Wonderful. All right. Some news today, I think, for all of humanity to be quite excited about, though the stock market with a bit more of a muted reaction. That, of course, is everything we heard from Oxford on their coronavirus vaccine trial. For more on all of that, Anjalee Khemlani joins us now with the very latest. Anjalee.
Thanks, Miles. Yep, as you mentioned, so Oxford did let us know what the results were for their vaccine, which is being developed in partnership with AstraZeneca. And that vaccine candidate did show 100% positive immunity to the virus in all the participants. But what's important to remember is that this is just an early stage trial, and the sole purpose of it is to test whether or not it is safe to use. And so what they did find is that it was in fact safe to use, the only side effects being really mild stuff like headaches and fatigue, which is pretty common with vaccines, and to treat that they use Tylenol. But meanwhile, it's important news because they can now start that phase 3 trial, which is really important to know what the full effectiveness of this is, whether or not the antibody response is actually useful against proving immunity overall to the virus and for a longer period of time. It is a 2-shot vaccine, so that means there's an initial and a booster shot. And this compares to some of the other candidates that are on the market. But already we know that Moderna and Pfizer are two of those other companies that are well ahead, starting phase 3 this month or early next month. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca and Oxford do look to start pretty soon, as soon as they can. And we also have to remember that that partnership is manufacturing with the Serum Institute of India. And so they're looking to really have a broad availability of the vaccine once it's successful. But Pfizer news, actually, so we got a lot of vaccine news today. And so Pfizer is another company that made a deal for 30 million doses with Britain. And that's in addition to, again, what's going on with the 1 billion coming from that Oxford vaccine. We also know that in India, they have started their vaccine candidate trials, the first phase. So we'll have to hear about that when that's available, as well as CanSino, the Chinese frontrunner, did release phase 2 trials. And all of it has been really promising, just in terms of effectiveness. But again, because we don't know as much about the virus and how long antibodies will last against it, that still remains a question. Is something that needs to be studied, as well as how effective these are in older individuals. Miles?
And then, Anjalee, just a general question, I guess. Moderna shares are down 12% today on this news, which seemingly is bad for them. But also, just looking at this graphic with 9 companies, all the major pharma companies working on a vaccine, it seems unlikely that there would be one COVID-19 vaccine, correct?
That's correct. They are already looking at it. There's too much of a demand in the market for it to be a one company market. And that's what every analyst has been saying since the beginning, is that they do expect a lot. So the important part is who can produce the most vaccines. That's sort of where it is. And you also have other large pharma companies, pursuing traditional development routes like Merck and Johnson & Johnson. And so they have a better chance of really more broader distribution. Whereas in companies like Moderna are using a newer technology. They have not been proven on the market just yet. They themselves as a company have not been tested on the market. This would be their first product to get there. And so all of that sort of pulls together to sort of explain what the movement has been.
And I was just going to say, ask you, Anjalee, I mean, I'm really glad we just covered that. The fact that it's not just going to be, one vaccine from one company, winner takes all. And some days it has seemed like the market has misunderstood that. Because, on days when we've seen positive, encouraging news about one vaccine from, say, Moderna, and that stock goes up, I believe some days we've also seen the opposite effect, where there's good news from one, and so shares of the rest fall. And obviously that's not necessarily the right thinking if we're going to have a few winners when it comes to a vaccine.
Absolutely. And also the technology that they're using plays a role in that as well. A lot of optimism for Moderna's newest technology, of the candidates in the race, has really caused some of that enthusiasm.
All right, Anjalee Khemlani with all the latest on a very exciting day for COVID-19 vaccines.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.